And welcome into this edition of Gator Bytes on the 1010.
No, I'm not going to let you start this like every other show. It's not going to happen. You're not going to sit here and hide behind our fine people at Southeast Orthopedic and use your little 30-second read for me to calm down from our pre-show antics. Hack, yes. I just want everybody to know, Hack has put on his shoes and he is running from the truth right now.
All right.
Like running from the absolute truth. You all heard him last week when he said that he don't understand how Florida Gator fans can believe the roster is better. That was a direct quote, Hack.
Mm-hmm.
Direct quote.
Mm-hmm.
You got to take your orange and blue goggles off. Isn't that what he said, Graham? Wasn't that the exact quote? Everybody's got on blue goggles or something like that. And
that is exactly what he said.
His friends in Twitter, like, he can't understand how somebody can even believe that this roster is better than Utah.
And if anybody needs it, I have receipts of all our past episodes if we need them to be pulled up.
So let me defend myself. Utah was 18 feet away from winning the game. All right? They were 6 yards away. Whose roster's
better, Hack?
Well, no, Florida's roster's better.
Did they win the game, yes or no?
Florida won the game.
Right, and a coach in his first game versus a coach in his 18th year.
But you're coming out here making it seem like Florida won the game 50-0.
Does it matter?
Well, no.
Whose roster was better, Hacker?
Top to bottom?
Whose roster was better?
We're not coming out acting like it's 40-0. We're acting like you were wrong.
Correct.
Florida's roster is better, but I'll still say Utah had the best tight end on the field. Tavion Thomas is the best running back.
Come on, bro.
I mean, seriously.
Hack. Come on, bro.
Well, hey, look, I'm happy Amari Burney. Amari Burney made the play.
Water boy was elite, fellas. Elite.
I'm happy Amari Burney made the play, but the bottom line is they were 6 yards away from me looking pretty decent in this.
All right, go ahead. All right.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, the Northeast Florida's leading orthopedic center, providing an unparalleled level of care across numerous locations. That's in both Jacksonville and St. Augustine. That includes Riverside, Northside, the Southside, the beaches, Fleming Island, and St. John's. All right, it was a huge win for Florida. There is no question about that. There were some negatives, which I'll get into in a moment. I know we want to believe Florida is the 72 Dolphins after that.
Is that what we want to believe?
I think that's what you want to believe.
Oh, really?
Because I don't think that's the case.
No,
I'm the consistent one here.
This is what Hacker's doing. He was wrong last week.
Yeah.
So now he's taking it way the other way.
Exactly.
Like we just think that Florida's Alabama.
I've been the consistent one on this for the past all summer, but yet I believe they're the 72 Dolphins.
Florida's now the 01 Hurricanes and the 95 Nebraska team, and everything's great.
Who said that?
Nobody.
We'll get to that.
Nobody said it. Little voice in Hacker's head.
Let's get to the game. Anthony Richardson, a guy you know well. Weekly reminder, Denny Thompson, 6 points. You've trained Anthony Richardson for years. Disclaimer out of the way. How do you feel that he played? Because nationally, he is getting all sorts of love.
Yeah, he deserves it. I mean, he played really well. Didn't try to do anything too much. I mean, if you don't count the 360. We'll get into that.
That was insane.
Unbelievable. But I thought he took what they gave him. That film is going to be very tough for defensive coordinators because they let everybody know, like, we can do it all. All right, if you want to try to take Ann away with a spy, that is a terrible decision. And from what Kentucky's linebacker said yesterday, that's their plan. Awful decision. Like, you're taking somebody out of coverage or out of a rush to spy a guy that you can't catch anyway, right? So that's probably not the best idea. But they've shown that if you don't play man, they don't need Anthony. They've got a running game. I told you guys a couple weeks ago, ETN was the real deal, and he is the real deal.
Yeah.
And so they've got a running game. So if you want to play zone, they're going to gash you in their running game. If you want to play man, Anthony's going to gash you in his running game. And he can throw the ball.
I thought one of the most impressive things outside of Anthony Richardson, you mentioned ETN, you talk about the running game, Montrell Johnson, first game in a Gator uniform, fumbles the ball, critical fumble. I mean, that's a 14-point swing, arguably. Florida's going in for 6, fumbles, Utah scores, 5-6 plays later. After that play, you wonder if he goes into a shell first game and this environment coming from Louisiana. Montrell Johnson was dynamic the remainder of the game.
He's played a lot of ball. He's played a lot of football in his day, right? Like, I mean, that, and it showed. I was with, when he fumbled, the first thing that went to my head is, oh man, this is a transfer from Louisiana. Like, is he ready for this? And then he was in complete control the rest of the game.
Yeah.
I thought he's a really patient runner. I love his running style. He's got a quick first step. I think him, ETN, I think the whole crew, they've got something with this running game, especially the way that they utilize the shifts and motions.
Look, the offensive line was a big topic of conversation coming in. The offensive line played unbelievably well. And what I loved, look, make no mistake about it. Joke around it if you want to. That Utah team's a good football team.
Absolutely.
They're going to win a lot of games. They might win the Pac-12 again. And every time Utah scored, Florida countered. Every time. McElwain years, maybe even the Mullen years, I don't know if Florida wins that game because Florida did not respond very well at times when they were trailing, particularly in the fourth quarter. Not the case last Saturday.
Did you have the feeling, like, last year or even previous years, to your point, watching that game, it had been like, crap.
Yeah.
I didn't have that feeling.
It was as if Utah's defense just could not stop them. And we knew that after Utah scored.
Can we say that a different way? And you're not wrong, but I want to say that a different way. It's like Florida had an answer for everything offensively.
Yeah.
Like if you want to expand your end, they're going to run right up the middle. If you want to play man, then Ant's going to take off for 45. If you want to play zone, then they're going to hit you in the seams. It just seemed like they had an answer for everything, and it seemed like everybody was on the same page.
You are the quarterback guy. You train Anthony. Let me ask you about the throwing game, the passing game. 17 of 24, $168. How do you feel that he threw the ball last week?
I thought he threw it well. There were a couple of reads that he missed. I shouldn't even say that he missed, that maybe he didn't get to.
Napier cited the one on 3rd and 10 where he kind of threw it across his body and almost got picked. But he said that was really the only one.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. Like, if I watch it, I don't know what his progression is. I don't know where his eyes are. And that's easy to do when you're watching football, is you see a guy break open. Well, they may not even be working that side of the field, right? That may be a missed assignment if he even throws that. So it's hard sometimes when you're watching games to go, he had that crosser. Well, maybe he's not working that crosser, right? So I don't know. I mean, if the way I looked at it, I saw maybe 3 throws that it was, Ant hit that a little sooner or something like that. He and I have texted this week, and he had we talked a couple of little mechanics things, but I thought he looked spectacular throwing the ball. We have a lot of quarterbacks play college football, a whole lot of quarterbacks. So I'm not looking at this as just Anthony. I'm looking at this as our, 50, 60 guys we have playing college football. The ball just looks different coming out of his hand. Like, the ball just snaps out of his hand and it's effortless, right? There was a throw in that game that he threw about 60 in the air that was incomplete, but it was maybe the most impressive throw of the night because he came off of something, saw his guy had a little bitty step, launched it to where only his guy could get it, ended up being long. That, to me, is a really good sign.
And Ricky Pearsall was worth the hype.
Stud.
Yeah.
Stud.
Best
Absolute
receiver
stud.
they got.
Yeah, absolutely stud. I think I compared him to Kadarius Toney on here. I'm going to stick with that because I think as he gets more comfortable and they find different ways to get the ball in his hands, I think he's going to have a huge year.
All right. Having said all that, defensively, the one thing I was right about, their interior defensive line wore down in the second half. They could not stop Utah's running game. Utah was lining up in the I formation and getting 5 yards a pop. I think Tavion Thomas finished with over 100 yards and a touchdown. My question to you, I think I know the answer, but I'm going to ask you anyway. How concerned are you about that? Because if you get worn down in week 1, where are they going to be week 6, 7, and 8?
I'm concerned about it, but I think that is something that can get better. I'll give you. I don't know why I'm being so positive today, but I am. Just in a good mood. The positive of this is last year's team, they didn't go for 5, he goes for 50.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you always keep yourself in a game if you make them drive down the field. And yes, it's frustrating as a fan to watch another team clip off 5 yards.
Agreed. It was like a bend but don't break type deal.
Right. So I think there's some positive in that. But I also think that first game, like, you're still trying to find your rotation. Who can play, who can't, how many snaps can they play in a row, things like that. There's some film that Kentucky can take away from that. Maybe they'll run a little bit of hurry up with no substitution to make sure they keep a couple of those guys in for Florida and don't give them a chance to sub out. But I've got a little bit of faith that they'll start to find a good rotation. They'll start to find the right run blitzes, things like that, where it won't be that all year. I think there's some teams you just can't help it. There's some teams like Utah who have a commitment to the run, have been doing running the same offense for so long that it doesn't matter where you shade or what you blitz, they have an answer. Georgia's probably like that. I don't know if Kentucky's like that. They've had multiple offensive coordinators the past couple years. A new one this year. We'll see.
Final thought on the Utah game before we start looking forward. We talk about the bend but don't break style. What was Cam Rising doing on that interception? It was a great play by Bernie. The tight end fell down. I get that. Even if that tight end's standing, 6'6" tall in the end zone, that was like a terrible throw from Cam Rising.
The hardest part of the field for a quarterback to execute in is a red zone. That's why you see so many people have so much success between the 20s, and then when they get inside the 20, they have to kick a field goal. It's the windows are so tight, and you have to make a pre-snap decision. And I think he made that decision and couldn't come off of it, right? And
he was going to the tight end, and he didn't care.
And do you blame him? Like and that's his guy. And there's some mechanics to that too. There's like some weight distribution that allows you to come off of a first read, but in your head, when you know this is where I'm going, then your drop, your pacing, everything goes towards that specific person, and it's really hard to come off of those guys. That's the reason why guys like Tom Brady are who they are, right? They can do that. They know how to stay calm through that. But you put the combination of big play in the red zone, trying to get the ball to your best player. I get it. I completely get it. And I love the defense that Florida played on that.
And Bernie made a play. There's no doubt about that.
He needed to make a play because he had a bad game.
The tight ends kind of worked over the linebackers a little bit until that very end. Today's Gator Bytes podcast is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. For the highest quality care, you can rely on Southeast Orthopedic Specialists for any orthopedic injury or concern. You can log on to their website by going to se-ortho.com, and you can listen for Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, the good doctor, Kevin Murphy, on Thursday mornings in the 7 o'clock hour with Jeff and Dan right here on 1010XL for his weekly analysis of injuries in sports. All right. You're around these college kids. You talk to these college coaches. You are immersed in the college football game. Huge win like that. Recharge the batteries, get it back into neutral for what is another very big game on Saturday. It's been a lot of conversation this week. How tough will it be for Florida, even the fans, because the swamp was on fire last week for all parties involved in Gainesville. How tough will it be to replicate that this Saturday against Kentucky?
It shouldn't be that tough. I mean, you're week 2, right? So, I mean, I'm sure bumped and bruised a little bit. This is also where that new football-only facility comes in, by the way. Big boy. They have every recovery tool that you can need in there, right? Where they didn't in the old one. They just had a training room in the old one. So I think that helps a ton. So, I wouldn't expect any letdown. Now, I would expect a little different game plan. And that's the tough thing is, do you have a counterattack for what you believe their solution is going to be, right? So Kentucky's going to look at that film. They're going to come up with a game plan. But you and I were talking about this before. When people talk about when they have film on this guy, sometimes I get aggravated by that because...
Real quick, and what I brought up to Denny was I've had a lot of guests on Hacker After Dark this week, guests really all over the station, that now D coordinators like Kentucky's defensive staff now have film on Anthony Richardson and what he does in Billy Napier's offense.
I think sometimes people say that and they don't think that through. Tom Brady's been playing how long?
Long time.
There's a lot of film on Tom Brady?
There is.
Did anybody stopped him? No.
Few and far between, yeah.
Right. I mean, if we want to stay in the college game, there was plenty of film on Cam Newton and Vince Young and Johnny Manziel and Tim Tebow. And the good ones, it doesn't matter. Like, you can get a plan, but if you don't have the dudes to stop that dude, it doesn't matter what your plan is. Right? And so it's I don't think the film aspect, if Anthony Richardson is who we think he is, then he should play through that, right? You watching him play doesn't make him slower, right? Him having film doesn't make his arm weaker. It makes you think, oh, I have this plan, but I can tell you this. If Utah didn't know what was coming at them, because what Florida did is exactly what Louisiana did. And 15, everybody knows what he is. If Utah didn't have a plan coming in, then they're idiots. I can assure you they had a plan, and I can assure you that Kentucky's plan isn't going to be much different than Utah's plan. The only teams in America that can play this the right way and have a chance is Georgia and Alabama. I'm not saying Florida's going to run the table. Let me be crystal clear about that. What I'm saying is when you have a dude at quarterback that can do what Anthony does, your plan doesn't matter. Your players matter.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
He was unstoppable. There's no doubt.
It's not X's and O's, it's Joe's.
Now, you said you've texted with him, all good health-wise?
Yeah.
All right, so we're good, 100% going in. Let me ask you about the other guy, Will Levis for Kentucky. Second really good quarterback that Florida has seen in 7 days. Cam Rising's probably among the top, 10 to 15 quarterbacks in the country, I would say. He was all Pac-12 last year. So Florida now has experience against a good quarterback. Will Levis comes in, a projected first-round pick out of Kentucky. What can you tell Gator fans about Levis?
Big, strong kid, great arm, great thrower. I don't know that he hasn't really put together games that match his talent yet.
What was the stat on him last year in conference play? He had like one game where he threw over 180 yards.
Yeah, and some of that's the offense they run, but I can tell you NFL GMs love this guy, and there's nothing not to love about this guy physically. He's, like I said, a massive guy, and probably, top 2 or 3 arm in college football right now.
Can he run? Is he mobile?
Yeah, he is mobile, but what they run offensively, I don't feel like it really plays into what his strengths are. So I don't know. I mean, I love Will Levis as a player. I just don't know that I like Will Levis as a Kentucky player with what they are trying to do.
And look, the Kentucky running game's got some issues, right? Chris Rodriguez, I think he's suspended for this game. I think he's a 2-gamer.
He allegedly is suspended.
So we don't officially know yet?
It seems kind of weird the way they're playing this a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we can't talk about it. We're hoping to get information. Like, that's the Stoops line. But allegedly, yeah, he's not playing.
He's a 1,000-yard back. He's a good player. So the Kentucky running game is going to be something they have to deal with. As far as the Kentucky defense, again, we don't know a lot about them. They played an overmatched Miami of Ohio team last week. Or what we do know is last year, this Kentucky team beat Florida in large part to like 10 false start penalties that Florida had.
Was it a blocked field goal?
Blocked field goal, return for touchdown. I'm calling this the revenge tour because you have Kentucky, LSU, Missouri, and South Carolina. All 4 that beat Florida last year. All 4 come to the Swamp this year, including the Kentucky game on Saturday night. If Kentucky wins, just stay with me here. If they win, does that take anything away from the Utah game last week?
Sure.
Because I think this Kentucky game is probably more important.
Well, yeah, it's a conference game. I think, like, if you'd have lost to Utah, it didn't really do anything to your season.
Right.
That was a hype game, right? That was a game to set the tone.
And the momentum from that game has been unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely think if Kentucky wins this game, then it takes a lot from that Utah game. Absolutely. I don't expect Florida to be overly explosive, but I also don't expect Kentucky to be much more physical or better on defense than what Utah was. I mean, there's a reason Utah was preseason top 10, right? So I don't think this game's going to look a whole lot different than what the Utah game did. Now, to your point earlier, the Utah game could have gone either way, right? And you hope that doesn't happen. I think Florida wins this game 10-14. Like, I think they expand that lead a little bit more because I don't think Kentucky has the experience Utah had. But, yeah, if Kentucky were to win this game, I think it would take a lot away from that Utah victory.
If Florida wins, maybe the most underestimated or most surprising 2-0 that you could say Florida football's been in quite some time. I don't know how many people, maybe not named Denny Thompson, would have said Florida's going to beat Utah and Kentucky in back-to-back weeks. 2 top 20 teams with a brand-new coaching staff like Billy Napier has in Gainesville.
And I'm going to say this, knowing the risks that they can lose. I just don't understand that. I said that a couple weeks ago. I don't understand the thinking behind that. I don't understand the thinking behind thinking that Kentucky and Utah had better players than Florida.
Right, but it comes down to last year. Kentucky did not have better players last year. There's nothing the same. And still beat Florida.
There's nothing the same in Gainesville as it was last year.
I understand, but they hadn't in your mind, they quit on Mullen.
Absolutely.
Right?
Mullen quit on them.
But Sorry.
No,
go ahead.
Florida gave Kentucky that football game.
Absolutely.
But had they quit on Mullen at the Kentucky game, it was early in the year.
Oh, I think that's where it started. Okay. Absolutely.
I don't think they had quit, but I think after that game was when they started to quit, and I think in that game they handed Kentucky the football game.
I can't say what I know. Well, I know what was happening.
But Florida dominated that game statistically.
To keep on point on this, I just have never understood when people have said that Kentucky and Tennessee and Utah are going to beat Florida handedly. Like what information do we have to suggest that?
Well, we have the fact that Florida lost 7 games last year. The fact that Utah was a defending. Look, Denny, this goes back to what I was saying earlier. Florida did not win that game by 40 points last week. Utah was on the 6-yard line with 10 seconds to go. They could have very easily won that game. It's not a far reach to say Utah could have, maybe even should have won that game. By the way, they're on the 6-yard line as time expired with the interception. They also get stuffed at the half-a-yard line. And so Utah was inside the 10 twice.
Again,
came out with
you can
0
play this
points.
game all day.
Again, we can do
but you're making it seem like it's outlandish to think that Utah was going to win.
I think it's outlandish to think that Utah was going to blow them out and Utah was a much better team. I think that we can say the same thing about last year's team with Alabama. We can say the exact same thing about Florida and Alabama last year, right? So, I mean, I don't – the pieces of the puzzle will never fit together unless you are an elite team.
Right.
That finds a way to win. The only thing I'm saying is if you looked at this team and you went, oh, they're 0-2 out the gate, I just question like what you actually are looking at. I question you're not looking at rosters. You're not looking at the turnover at Florida. You're not looking at how they've changed the program. You're not looking at talent. I don't really know if you're looking at 1 year, but you're dismissing the history, right? You're dismissing the fact that Kentucky rarely beats Florida, that Tennessee rarely beats Florida in the last 2 decades, right? Yeah. And we're taking 1 year and we're saying, oh, they must be a much better program now.
Well, I mean, I had them 1-1, but just to be clear, I mean, there wasn't a preseason publication out there, I think, that had Florida over Kentucky. A guy like Chris Doring, Gator great Chris Doring.
Had Kentucky going
11-1, including beating Florida.
Yeah, sorry, Chris. That just don't even make any sense.
Well, all right,
but don't even make any sense. Like, I mean, we're in an era for clicks.
Yeah,
and everybody knows that you get a ton of clicks if you piss off Florida fans. Everybody knows that. And so you know what they do?
A non-SEC East team or an SEC East team that's not Florida or Georgia that's like that every year, though.
Right.
That finishes the year strong, that everyone's obsessed with.
South Carolina, like everybody was obsessed with South Carolina.
Because Shane Beamer is just this great guy.
Right, Spencer Rattler, who got benched last year.
Right.
Like, is going to be, oh my God, they got Spencer Rattler. Yo, he got benched last year. He went from being a Heisman frontrunner to being on the bench within a month of the season start.
Yeah. No, I get it. And if Florida wins, 2-0 is 2-0, and that's great. I'll tell you right now, I still think they're going to lose to Tennessee when they go to Knoxville. I think those people are going to be foaming at the mouth to see them. If that game was in Gainesville, I would probably pick the Gators. And unless something injury-wise happens, when Florida goes to Knoxville, the first true road game, I got serious doubts as to whether they're going to go into Neyland Stadium and win.
I'll wait till that week to decide on that because I do want to see more of a sample size of what Florida is capable of and what they're doing. And then also I want to see Tennessee. Tennessee's a high-powered offense. You always run that risk, especially at their place.
And Tennessee's got a really interesting one against Pitt this week.
Yeah, they do. They do. But my point being, Florida may lose this week. I'm not saying that it's a shoo-in that they win. But I'll look at this game just like Vegas looks at this game. They should win. Based off of talent, based off of history, based off of everything else, you should expect Florida to win this football game Saturday night.
Today's Gator Bytes podcast is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. They're Northeast Florida's leading orthopedic center, providing an unparalleled level of care across numerous locations in both Jacksonville and St. Augustine. That includes Riverside, Northside, the South Side, the beaches, Fleming Island, and St. John's. All right, let's go rapid fire. It's a good Saturday in the SEC. Really good Saturday. Alabama, Texas. Is that a game?
No.
Alabama big?
Yeah. Although it will be fun to watch Quinn against Alabama. If you haven't watched Quinn Ewers, he's a fun watch.
Yeah.
He's a lot of fun to watch.
The Texas starting quarterback.
Right.
South Carolina goes to Arkansas.
That's an interesting game because if South Carolina is anything at all like they claim to be right now, They got to win this game.
Yeah.
They have to win this game. Arkansas is playing good ball, man.
I love KJ Jefferson.
I love KJ Jefferson. I love their coaching staff. Side note, I lived in Arkansas for 8 years. I love everything about Arkansas. Grew up a Razorback fan.
You enjoy shopping at Walmart and
I
eating
don't
Tyson
anymore,
chicken?
but Tyson chicken's delicious. I do have a bias towards Arkansas, and they've been bad for so long. Those people in Arkansas love the Razorbacks, man, and that place is going to be hopping us at Arkansas, right?
Yeah, high noon kick.
Yeah, it'll be hopping. South Carolina, this is like a must-win for them to establish an identity. I just think Arkansas is a good football team.
Wake Forest goes to 2-0 Vanderbilt.
Sam Hartman playing?
Yeah, apparently he's got medically cleared.
Yeah. Another, who is Vanderbilt?
The Mike Wright quarterback at Vanderbilt apparently is scorching the earth right now.
He's a good player. Hawaii's terrible.
Yeah.
That's who they played the first week.
And Elon. So we'll know a lot more about Vandy on Saturday.
Absolutely.
Missouri, Kansas State, not to break it down, but it's a nice game. App State goes to A&M. App State put 60-plus on North Carolina last week, so that could be
what is App
something
State?
to watch.
What are they doing?
Getting some athletes on offense. They don't play a lick of defense.
No, what I'm saying, like the schedule.
Oh, yeah. Well, they're money games. You know?
People still paying App State to come to them?
Apparently, they're making that mistake. Real quick.
Well, the App State played North Carolina at App State.
Yeah, well, that was a 2-for-1.
Yeah.
Two
Was
in
it?
Chapel Hill and one in Boone. App State gets NC State. I think it's another 2-for-1 deal coming up in the near future.
Good for y'all, App State.
Tennessee goes to Pitt. Who do you like?
I think that may be.
That's 3:30 ABC national television.
That's a heck of a game. I'm leaning towards Pitt.
Yeah. Pitt looked really good against West Virginia, particularly in the fourth quarter.
Really well coached. And that's one I can tell you that other teams will look and see the way there's such a high level of respect for Pitt's coaching staff around the country that other teams will look and see the way Pitt plays Tennessee. So if they have success, Tennessee better learn to deal with whatever Pitt does. If Pitt can't stop them, then it could be a really good year for Tennessee.
As we wrap up, Mississippi State on 11 o'clock Eastern time at night heads to Pac-12 territory to play Arizona.
Yeah, I think Mississippi State rolls in that.
Will Rogers was a good player, man.
That just like it's been the last couple of years. That the west part of the SEC is absolutely stacked.
Yeah, it's loaded. All right, that gets us to Florida and Kentucky. 7 o'clock. You'll hear the game right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. I'm going to pick the Gators, but I think it's one of those fourth quarter games where Florida's up 6 or 7. They score maybe a late touchdown to make it look a little worse than it actually is. I'm going to go Florida 31, Kentucky 20, somewhere along those lines.
Wait, what'd you say?
31-20 Florida.
Wow. Okay.
That's what I'm saying. I think Florida's up 24-20.
Yeah,
5 minutes to go. Anthony Richardson scores to put one away late.
I want to pick Florida in like a blowout, but I have too much respect for Mark Stoops, and I think Will Levis is a really good player. And it's like it's not allowing me to say what I really want to say because of the respect that I have for those two guys. But in my heart of hearts, I believe Florida wins this game convincingly. Now, I think it's somewhere around the same score you said. I think it, but I would almost like play it the opposite to where it's 31-13 and Kentucky scores late. But I'm going to say Florida. I'll go ahead and say Florida by two touchdowns. I'll say by 14.
If that happens and Florida
you're at 11.
2-0. Yeah, I'm at 11.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to say that. I don't know how it's going to look getting there, but I think Florida starts off really fast. I think that's going to be the difference in this game. I think Florida, Napier now knows what they can do well and what they need to fix, and the biggest improvement comes between game 1 and game 2 at every level. So I think Florida comes out with something that Kentucky hasn't seen. I think Florida puts up early scores.
So we both like Florida. Final thought on Anthony Richardson. The hype is real. We saw it in the preseason. We saw it in the offseason, but now it's different. Now it's the regular season. His Heisman odds skyrocketed. Everybody's talking about Anthony Richardson. You know him as well as anybody. You've been around him for, 5 or 6 years now. How will he handle that?
Yeah, he's built for this. He won't. It won't be a problem. Anthony's been dealing – he's from Gainesville, so he's been dealing with that local celebrity thing to a degree that none of us will ever experience for a while. This isn't anything new. Yeah, the national stage is what it is, but Anthony's really good at saying no. Mm-hmm. And so if he doesn't want to do an interview, then he's not going to do an interview. If he doesn't want to do an NIL deal, then he's not going to do the NIL deal. He's not going to be distracted, and he's done a good job of putting a team of people around him that keep the noise away, right? So I don't see this affecting him in the least.
He is Denny Thompson. I'm the hacker Ryan Green. Thank you to Southeast Orthopedic Specialists for bringing it to you. Gator Bytes next week. We'll review Kentucky. We'll preview South Florida. Ugh, South Florida. They're not very good right now, so we'll see what happens next week. Thank you for watching and listening to Gator Bytes on 1010XL.com and on the Florida Gator 1010XL Facebook page.